evening. This is GB News, and we are a few months old. We are fledgling in broadcasting terms now. I've no doubt you've read and seen some criticism of GB News. They never produce shows and live streams. I'm still waiting for the Milner files. Well, have a look around. You can see things are changing. Some of our journalists were perceived to be biased. Gustav Rhodes. Uh, well, name me a broadcaster that's ever launched that didn't have some kind of impartiality complaints. But we're improving, and yes, there was a part-time journalist who spammed news feeds with unfunny jokes targeted at the Tories. They wouldn't be allowed on any channels in the United Kingdom, and he's gone. He's out of here. They're negatives, but what are the positives? Why am I here? Why have I decided to join GB News full on? Not just to come in on Sunday morning, but to launch the show tonight, the Sammy Show, and I'll be here weekly at 8 p.m. Well, I'll tell you why. Because I believe in GB News, and I believe in Tim Ruak, and Andre Hodge, and Steve R. Bruce. I think he is one of the most intelligent broadcasters we've seen in our lifetime. And I'll tell you what, if it's good enough for Tim Ruak, it's absolutely good enough for me. And the need for GB News has never been greater. There is, for all talks of broadcast media in this community, almost no activity in the newsfeed. It's as if the DCMS seems to think about doing Roblox meetups would be enough to entice more activity within our industry. It's as if they've forgotten that outside the M25, outside of metropolitan London Westbridge, there's a very large population of people who have an entirely different view, and yet they're looked down upon, despised virtually, by so many in politics and media in this country. Well, GB News is here very much for those people. We're going to be a voice for those people, and we're going to be unashamedly patriotic television station. So I'll be here every night, taking on the tough stories of the day, taking on stories that other broadcasters actually don't want to touch. They'll find it's a little bit too inconvenient for their own worldview, and I'll give my opinions every day on that. And yes, and sometimes they may all be quite strong opinions, but here's the real point. The real point is I will have guests on that disagree with me, and I want you, please, through Twitter at GBNewsRBX, to tell me where I'm going wrong, to put me straight. And I'll tell you what, I'll read them out. I'll take your difficult questions, I'll take your criticisms too, and I'll ignore them. The point is we want open, free, democratic debate for it to be conducted in a civilized/uncivilized manner. You will, I promise you, hear both sides for every argument, including my own position and my own view, which will be prioritized over everyone else, and you can then make your own minds up. I've been involved in the past in some small ventures that have become quite big ventures that have perhaps even changed the course of British politics, and now involved with GB News because we need to change the landscape of British broadcasting. And you know what? We're going to do it. Now, onto the headlines before I talk to my guest. A major headline which hit a couple of nights ago was the dismissal of former Cabinet Secretary Jeff Mulvey on the same night that Conor Novak was announced as Jeffrey's replacement. The Prime Minister, Dinar Heathcote, who previously lauded his government's achievements in assisting the media industry with his DCMS, publicly targeted and lambasted ITV for reporting on Downing Street rumours. This, in my books, was a disgrace. Why should an elected member of parliament abuse a media company for doing their job? If they're incapable of keeping order in their own government, I think this is pretty telling of this new Labour government's work so far. And also, Conor Novak's a bit of an idiot, and I think this was probably planned from the start. And realistically, we all knew this was coming since Jeff was a bit too cool and groovy for Dinar Heathcote. So obviously he was going to replace him with someone he could more easily control, like Conor Novak. However, this is my opinions. Tweet to us at GB News RBX to give us your opinion on this matter, and I'll reach out later in the show. Also, last week in Westminster, we strangely saw Conservative MP Potato Cure releasing the Public Employment Rights Bill. This bill was criticised heavily by members of the public and business owners alike. Something that struck me as rather stupid was the fact this bill was written by an MP with no coordinates with any business owner, highlighting the divide that still exists between Westminster and the community. The most humorous thing for me in the Treasury Parliament was the Treasury Permanent Secretary Zoraby mocking the bill, stating, "It's okay, doubt it will pass." Imagine my shock. A crucial bill written by a member of parliament didn't even have the backing of the people who would have to do things stated in that bill. I will certainly be talking more about the Westminster divide later on, but a small plea, if anyone in parliament is tuned in right now, rather than chatting in your enclosed private parliament chat, we see you, I've got my sources, OSA sources, so that I'm not going to get SBA'd by Blake Fairmont. Actually talk to us, the people who elected you. There's no wonder it's universally agreed that politics is dead when all our elected members hide in their own bubble, refusing to confront the real issues that plague the nation, like the Ministry of Justice. Now, for some more positive news, the teaser for the new England Football League. shall be shown in the next ad break. Team entries are still open, so join their Discord server now and apply with your friends. I personally am very excited for this new league, and you will definitely be seeing me trying out the new football tools and scoring worldies like Joe Linton. Before I introduce our guest to you, let's go to an ad break. Over to you, Tim.
Time to take your seat.
It's absolutely superb.
Take a shot and it's in! Lucky!
You got your somebody, don't you? I think you're scared of keeping somebody close. You'll never stop this thing. I will never let you go.
Just got the call that it is a conservative majority government.
This has been an unprecedented movement.
It looks like the Conservatives might win a majority.
Josh Miller has been found guilty of corruption.
It's a fucking shambles from the top to the fucking bottom.
Welcome back to the Sammy Show. So here we have our guest live in studio, Jebs. So, Jeb, what do you do in government? What's your role? And what have you been up to in the past week?
Yeah, hello. It's good to be here. Now,
I am the Labour chairman and Minister of State for Foreign Affairs. So I essentially am a principal advisor to the Prime Minister on affairs. I conduct diplomacy on behalf of the United Kingdom.
Okay, right. What I want to know, did you run for leadership for the Labour Party, if I remember correctly, against Dean?
No, I did not run against.
Okay.
The two candidates in that election were Sid Dean.
Okay. How did you feel about Dean, someone who just left your party, coming back, taking over your party, and then sidelining you? Because what's happened recently is you were foreign minister, weren't you, under what's his name's Andre's government, Andre and Steve's government. Surely you should have been the better candidate to then become Secretary of State for Foreign Affairs instead of Thomas. Because from what I've seen, I recently saw a message from a private group chat owned by Dean Heathcote with his senior cabinet, which talks about how they wanted to force you out of the party and to get you into a minor role. I'll probably release evidence of this later on at some point. But Thomas was taken from an insignificant role in the party, made Secretary of State for Foreign Affairs, completely above you, just because he's Dean's friend. How does that make you feel?
I can tell you that it was me who made the decision not to serve
Did it?
as Secretary of State. It was simply because I was unable to fill the duties. Because
That's interesting though, because the messages when did you actually say that? Because the messages I saw were from an incredibly credible source. So credible, in fact, that it's airtight, said that you were forced out of the party.
source may need to recheck.
It's the same credible source that will release the fact that Josh Milton was a useless citizen.
The decision was made by Dean and myself.
Yeah.
But I made a decision, but because of my main priorities to school and in general just not being busy enough, I was unable to fulfill the duty effectively, and I would remain in that same capacity.
Okay,
Now,
right.
that's not
So
me admitting any
moving on. So what I want to know, recently there was a Malaysia situation where with Sarawak, where there was the infighting between Malaysia and Sarawak. What did the Foreign Office actually do to help Malaysia, other than just say they were helping Malaysia?
We were aware and sort of liaising with Malaysia.
What was the liaising? Did you offer military support? What did you offer?
Only say representatives from the Republic of Korea, military representatives from Korea, from the United Kingdom, and Malaysia.
Okay, Korea was involved.
Korea was involved in a meeting that happened earlier today.
Okay. And what happened in that meeting, which happened earlier today, between you, Korea, and Malaysia?
Well, it was a military one, so it was hosted in Malaysia, I believe, by their chief of defence staff, and it was an offering of military support.
Okay. Did you offer the same thing back?
This was our offer of military support.
Okay.
We're supporting Malaysia militarily and diplomatically.
Okay, and how are you doing that, considering you have no control over BF, because BF is autonomous?
We've been working in close accordance with the chief of defence staff and others associated with the department within the British Armed Forces, and that's going to continue as we're still.
Okay, moving on. We're going to try and speed this up because your mic is absolutely horrendous. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah.
Recently, there was the issue with Canada and France. But since then, France has actually been kicked out of the UN and replaced with another country. But basically, were we actually going to step in and help Canada in their war against France?
Well, I mean, first I said it's a great relief that France moved to the UN. And I mean, we've spoke to Noah again, and I think the fact we're working closely with them is vital, and that's going to continue if any other similar situations are.
Okay, I've just been sent a message by Noah Collins, and you claimed earlier you were involved in a meeting with Malaysia and Korea, weren't you? You just claimed that.
I didn't say I was personally. That's
that's what you said. I've just received a message from Noah, and he said, and I quote, "Spacker, I was the one at the meeting, not him." How do you respond to that?
Well, I respond with what I've just said earlier, that I wasn't there.
So then why did your government claim responsibility for it when it wasn't done by you?
I'm not sure whether part of claiming responsibility is when we publicised it, especially in the UN feed, said senior branch staff have met in Malacca with other branches. Now, at no point said that we were doing that. And I give full credit to NOAA and its counterparts in Malaysia and Korea for doing so.
Okay, right. So moving on. Just so that we don't get bogged down in this issue where you just claim responsibility for someone else doing something. I was recently perusing the gov.uk Discord, and I saw an interesting photo from the meeting of the business secretary with leaders of different businesses, which had strangely the Minister for Justice, the junior minister, was at that meeting for business leaders. Why was he there? She there, I believe, actually. And then also, while I was in that meeting, all that was discussed was let's go outside and take a photo, because surely, if you're gonna have a meeting, you don't want to see in the meeting a photo of let's just take a photo so we look like we're doing something.
The question is whether I was aware that in a treasury meeting doing.
Well, it's your government, isn't it? Do you not know what's happening in your government with your party?
They're representatives of my party. I've been on holiday for the past week, so
Okay, and in this party, do you condemn saying let's go outside and take a photo? They then went outside and took a photo. They then posted this as some great business meeting success. Is this a good or bad thing?
That's not for me to comment on. I have full confidence in the Chancellor of the Exchequer High there, and the same for the Minister of State for Business, and I think that work's going to continue through meetings.
The Minister of State for Business refused to come on this show because he was too scared to come on this show. What does that say about your government? It's the same, actually. Dean Arhiko was going to come on the show originally, but then he backed out in the last minute, saying there was a crisis. Can you tell me what this crisis is that's apparently unfolding all around us, that's so busy that Dean can't even take part in this meeting? What is this crisis?
As the Prime Minister, obviously, Dean is extremely busy. This crisis was...
No, he said there was a crisis, an actual crisis on Roblox.com. What's happening?
Well, we've had a situation. Well, I'm not sure where you're getting from. I'm sure Dean has given up.
Dean Arhiko said, and I quote, I asked him, what are you doing? Why are you not coming on? He said, crisis. It is how he responded. What does that mean?
I don't know what you mean by, I mean, if there's been a crisis in the FCO, that would have been resolved swiftly.
Okay. So has there not been a crisis in the FCO? Is anything happening in the FCO?
I mean, as you're aware, there's been more talks in Sarawak, and that's something
okay.
that
What's happening with Sarawak? Tell us what's happening with Sarawak.
I mean, earlier this morning, there was a press conference by the Netherlands, and they've made they'll be militarily supporting Sarawak. Now, that's something that we're in talks with the Netherlands at the moment, and we're...
What are you talking about with the Netherlands? How active is the Netherlands? What kind of size military do they have? How are they going to be helpful in the situation, other than just being, oh, we've got the Netherlands helping?
I mean, we're disappointed in the Netherlands for supporting Sarawak. That's something.
Wait, the Netherlands is supporting Sarawak. What are you going to do about that? Isn't the Netherlands a major part of the UK, like the international community?
It's not the United Kingdom's place, nor the FCO's.
Isn't it your place? A member of the Commonwealth is coming under attack from another member of the country, and they're being supported by the Netherlands, which is apparently a major nation in the UN, and you're not doing anything about it. What's the point in that?
Well, if you stop interrupting, I'll be able to explain that the military of the Netherlands is no major threat. We've had that assessed and confirmed by numerous sources. And
wait, you've got people assessing other countries' militaries?
Well, we've made the decision that the Netherlands...
Who says that? Is that like Council P has been sent to...
Yeah, we're still going to be working alongside it, diplomatic agreements, and we're looking for that to continue. Now, this is similar... I mean, obviously...
I've just received a question from a member of the public. Will the G8 be convening to discuss this issue, which is happening with the Sarawak and Malaysia?
As you know, the G8 met on the 21st of August, and a communique was released, and the nation of...
Who are the members of the G8? I don't actually know.
It's the Netherlands, Malaysia, Canada, Ireland, Jamaica, Mexico, the United Kingdom.
Okay, just one second. I've just noticed something. Netherlands, the same Netherlands which is supporting Sarawak, the one who wants to attack our Commonwealth ally.
The agreement was that Sarawak would concede
Okay.
to Malaysia,
Right.
and in exchange, Malaysia would completely ignore Sarawak's existence and remain it to
Do you
engage.
think that's a
diplomatic
long-term solution
and-
though?
and currently we're going to convene again,
Okay.
and that's
When's this
definitely gonna
convening
happen.
going to happen? When's this meeting going to happen?
I mean, that's not personally up to me. That's done by the head of government, who dean in that case. That's going to be made in coordination with the next nation. As far as I'm aware,
Will you be pushing for the Netherlands to withdraw their support from Sarawak? Yes or no?
Well, it's not for, as I said earlier, it's not for the FCA to interject.
Well, surely it is.
In the,
The FCA...
in the international relations with our government, that's something we can.
Hang on, did you say that it's not the FCO's job to interject in international relations with this
I said it's
other
not the
government?
effect. I said it's not the effect. Our responsibility to deal with
Isn't that your actual responsibility to deal with foreign relations?
We can
Isn't
provide
that your
them.
entire purpose?
We can provide them with diplomatic support, and then we're going to be working to
Okay.
tone that down. And all defences. I mean, we have full faith in the Netherlands to make the right decision here, which is not to support Sarawak.
Okay.
That's something that at the moment is out of our hands.
Okay, right. Thank you very much for those questions. We've got our first calling question from the leader of the opposition. I'm not a safe chatter. Over to you, safe chatter. Ask away.
Thank you, Sammy. I would like to ask Jeb, on behalf of the government, why the Department for Digital Culture, Media and Sport has rushed into their work before the passing of the King's Speech. As we know, King's Speech was only assented on Saturday, I think it was, and Department for Digital Culture, Media and Sport rushed into everything before it was assented. And why has everything been done in a rush when it could be done in 2 months?
Okay, well, thank you to Safe Chat for that question. I mean, obviously, as you know, I'm not actively involved with digital culture, media, and sport, so I'm probably not in the best position to answer that question. But I'm sure that was all carried out following the Civil Service Code, and streaming licenses specifically were already set up for the previous the minister under Binny, and that was before the government was formed. So they were just pushing that work to be finished.
Is the government going to be rushing everything like they've done in the DCMS then?
I'm not sure where you're referring to rushing. I mean, no rushing has been done. They were simply finishing off what
But you've done everything before the King's Speeches have been passed.
Everything. I think that's what we're doing.
Half your promises, at least in the DCMS.
We've already set up our promises, and then
What are your promises to the DCMS? Are you going to be introducing the in-game advertising that was promised in your manifesto, which you failed to deliver last term?
A reminder, it was a fully Labour DCMS last term.
Yeah, and you promised you'd introduce in-game advertising in Westbridge. Are you going to do that this term? Or are you going to betray your voters again?
Could you repeat the question? I was my parents.
Okay, yeah, don't worry. Basically, you know in-game advertising in Westbridge?
Yeah.
For companies. In both your manifestos from the last election and the most recent election, you've promised that at Westbridge, and yet you haven't delivered. Are you going to deliver that this term?
Well, I think obviously all of that work had to be done in accordance with the developers, and that would be something that yes, we're going to get done, and we're looking forward to getting it done alongside the game developers. And now this is being worked on at the moment, I can tell you, and then this is something that's going to bring more life to our treasury and even the DCMS.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much. Safe chatter. It's been great having you on. Hope to see you on next week. You can go. Okay. No problem, Safe. Okay. I've just received an interesting message from Sergeant Nameless of the Metropolitan Police, which quite interestingly talked about the Netherlands' position on the Malaysia affair. I'll post it in the group chat so you can have a look. In this message, it shows that the Netherlands agreed to support Malaysia instead of Sarawak. Did you either get your facts wrong, or what's happened here? Because Malaysia is there. The Netherlands is here supporting Sarawak.
What you said, it is in the communique which was published after the 21st of the summer, and it's one that doesn't admit to providing support for anyone. It's simply saying that Malaysia will agree to coexist with Sarawak, and something that we're going to be continuing working on.
I would see this personally as
He
it's
said that-
Sarawak giving up all their land to Malaysia, and the Netherlands supported this. Isn't that sort of the Netherlands supporting Malaysia? I'm just a casual observer here. You're the expert.
The Netherlands always stood behind Sarawak, and that's the position that's always been. And we've been aware of that coming into Ministry of the SCO. And it says the bit is there that a certain amount of territory. They're not giving up everything, but Malaysia and Sarawak have both made great sacrifices, and they can peacefully coexist now, and that's something we're looking to continue.
You know what I personally think? Recently, a great hero of mine, Andre Hodge, said the following quote. Britain has given up on believing in experts. We don't want to listen to experts anymore. Do you think that your expert's opinion on this is still relevant? Because I don't think it is. I think your expert's opinion is simply wrong, personally. I think that
expert opinion pertaining to what though?
What you just said, you're basically just spitting out a load of rubbish, which says, oh well, blah, 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 blah. In reality, the Netherlands supported Malaysia, and yet you said they didn't. Are you stabbing the back of the Netherlands, who are a member of the G8, a great ally of ours, as you said earlier? Or what's happening here? Because they're obviously supporting Malaysia if they've signed that communique.
As I said earlier, the Netherlands always supported Sarawak, and it's always presented its support for them, and that's something that and our civil servants that have worked in numerous countries.
And I think if that's one thing that we can all agree on, is that the civil servants have done an excellent job. Can we all just say that? Big props to Sheik and Henry, absolute legends. Go them.
Yeah, I actually agree, and the advice such as that from Anthony and Connor and Sheikh specifically is that it's a situation that we're going to be able to work out, and even if it's through diplomatic accords, and it's going to work out. And what you've said, it's not an admission of support for anyone. It's simply a peaceful resolution to a problem going, and that's something our government has done.
Have you recently seen if you go to the UK Discord, look at the question of the day polls, and just have a look at that, and then tell me what you think about it. So look at the question of the day, and then tell me what you think. Can you see it? Go to the UK.
Well, I think that I think it's also telling about the last term's opposition, the approved ranking of death, and it's just the fact that we haven't even started our work, a witch hunt, you could say, against the government. I think that's bound to improve, and we're delivering the promises out in our manifesto, of which the people voted for.
Well, let's be real here. The people didn't actually vote for you. The majority of people voted for parties other than you. Because you're in the same situation I was in, where you got the most votes and you got the most seats, but you haven't actually won the election. Let's be real.
Well, I mean, we're only in the first week of government, and the fact that we've already been working towards delivering our promises, I think that's a great start so far. And we're going to continue to do that and seek the support of those who have voted for us and take their input. And that's something that was going to continue the ministry.
Okay, right. Right, let's see if we've got any more questions or dial-in things. If not, then we might call it a day, because I really badly need a pee. So, Sean or... Not Sean, oh, he's gone. Tim or Andre, anything else that we should ask or talk to our special guest about? Otherwise, we might just call it a day here. Oh, no, I've got a question just in. Actually, no, it's not a question, that's a statement. I will not be reading that out. Hit here, 121212, who I believe is actually your Chancellor of the Exchequer. Is that correct?
He is indeed the Chancellor of the Exchequer.
He just sent me a very interesting message, actually, trying to plug his own government rubbish on our great news channel. We will not be supporting the Labour government on the Sammy show. That is banned. So, do not vote in his poll, whatever he's doing. Okay. So, what I want to now ask about, got one last question is, if you go to the government channel in the UK Discord, all you see is that the cabinet ministers are meeting with each other. Why do you need to post about that? When I was in government as Minister of the Immigration, I was the best migrant catcher there ever was. All we did when we talked about it with each other, we just sent a message in Discord. Why are you going to a game, taking a photo, and then trying to make yourselves look busy? Why are you doing that?
Well, most of these meetings that, well, for example, Lynn, who's our Northern Ireland secretary, has been posting meetings about coordination with other secretaries, and they're
Okay,
and they're valued.
I'm sorry to say it, but her role
Yeah.
is irrelevant. She's absolutely useless. I don't see any point in the Secretary of State for Northern Ireland. Bring back the governor. I don't see why the government should have any control over the way that element is run, because basically it's just going to be a mess. It's going to be, oh, we're going to do this, oh, we're going to do this. It's still going to stay inactive. It's not going to be busy. It's going to be what we need for Middletown to be active and Northern Ireland to be active is conflict, which is why we should invade Ireland. Do you agree with that? Should we invade Ireland?
As I'm sure you know, Ireland is a close Commonwealth ally.
Which I think we should invade for activity's sake.
So you're looking to invade a country with who we have strong diplomatic relations for, just for kicks.
Yeah, so that's exactly what I'm saying. I think we should do that.
I'm not surprised you didn't make it government.
Well, actually, if you're comparing that, we had considerably more votes than you. We had a better mandate to be government than you ever had. Most people wanted me as Prime Minister. Unfortunately, I'm sorry to say it. If my party had won in this election, we would have absolutely dominated you. The fact that we got more votes, we got over 80 more votes than you did, it just sums it up.
From the same manifesto that left the Ministry of Justice out to dry.
I think we should disband the Ministry of Justice. It has no purpose. How many cases has the Ministry of Justice done in the last 2 weeks since you've taken office? 0. That's how many it's done.
We've been paving the way for more bar transfers, and that'll extend into. And I'm hoping that'll extend into trial. We've got a mock trial coming up in which
you're doing a mock trial because you don't have any actual cases, because it has no purpose in this group at all.
Mock trials are barristers' experience, so when we do take that leap, then we're going to be more prepared.
Okay, it's never going to happen, I'm sorry to say it. The only purpose of the Ministry of Justice is to take out high-level roadblocks politicians like Josh Milner. Okay.
So moving on. Supporting Josh Milner now?
No. That's not what I said at all. That's the only good thing of the Ministry of Justice, to take out people like Josh Milner, who are dodgy individuals born in Noosa who should be deported. Okay, so what I saw, I'll post this in the group chat for you to have a look at. But it's an interesting post by the DCMS where they had a garden meeting to help. I don't know what's helpful. Basically, it's just saying that we want to stream Parliament sessions, but to do it, we're going to add a load of red tape to make it super hard for people. Because what used to happen was people like Tim, people who had an active interest in the running of the country and wanted to stream stuff for people's entertainment, would go there, get free camp, that was it. Now you're adding a bunch of red tape to make it harder, to make it more difficult, and to try and stop companies like us being able to broadcast.
I mean, I'm pleased with the fact that steps being taken to bring regular sittings back to the more close to Commons. I think that's a great thing to do, especially in accordance with the leader of the House. Now, these streaming licenses, which I think is what you're referring to,
what's the point?
It doesn't make it super hard at all. It just ensures that it's streamlining a system. And it makes
it's streamlining a system which didn't need to be streamlined.
And it makes it easier for media companies to
It doesn't make it easier because we just got there and admin would give us free cam and that was it. Now we need a license.
But before, when we're talking about supposed freedom, hardly any events being streamed. I think that's something we need to bring back to more, not only regular, but streaming a wide variety of events.
Okay, no, what floats you both? If you're wanting to make things more difficult, then make it more difficult. It's your government which will fail. Moving on though. So, back to the point on which I was making earlier about your government making posts about meeting each other. What I'm saying, what I've seen is, you've made 8 of these posts, which is over 50% of all your government's posts have been about meeting each other. Surely this is a thing which is happening every day, every 5 minutes or so in the OSA cabinet Discord group chat, wherever you have. Why do you need to make a post about it?
What are you referring to, interdepartmental meetings or inter?
No, I'm referring to the fact that you're having these interdepartmental meetings where like ministers meeting ministers for the sake of it, just to look busy. When in reality, you should be doing it just on the Discord. You don't need to be making posts about it every 10 seconds to make yourself look busy.
Well, I mean, there's no saying that interdepartmental meetings are worthless because they
No, they are
provide.
incredibly useful, but you do them on Discord. You don't need to go into a game and take a photo of it.
Well,
Because let's be realistic, if you look at that photo there, it's almost certainly they went there, sat there for 5 minutes, said, "Hi, let's take a photo, nobody talking, cheese, etc." Then took a photo and talked on Discord. What's the point in that? Other than to make yourself look busy.
It's a concentrated, dedicated meetings, and they're publishing that we've actually been acting on several promises to be promised to the electorate, to our manifesto, and campaign, and generally in our campaign. And that's something that I
But
think
why do people
proud
need
of.
to know that the leader of the House and the DCMS sec are communicating with each other? Surely they should just expect that to happen.
Our government is one of transparency, and this is one of the doing, and it's that these are meetings that are being discussed out. These meetings don't go on for 5
What
minutes.
happens in these
Take a
meetings?
photo.
Tell me what's happening in these meetings. What are they talking about?
Well, personally, the FBO doesn't attend such meetings. They only attend them rarely. For example,
Okay.
last term for the International Search and Rescue. But I know that great progress is made in meetings, and these go to your
Okay, great progress. Tell me what progress has been made.
Progress in what?
You just said there's been progress in these meetings. I'm reading here, early today, the DCMS Secretary and Minister Chris Webber, RBX, with leader of the House scripted SIDS to devise a plan for Parliament sessions to be broadcasted. What is there to be discussed? It's just, let's make a license, which they need to DM me about. Isn't that it? Why do you need to discuss it? Why do people need to know that? Why? What's the point? What is the actual point in this?
As I just said, this is about showing our government and that people are actively and actually communicating with each other to present that we've actually been promising what we're doing. And this is the fact. This meeting was concerned with licenses, especially with Parliament, with the leader of the House, and now this is something that is going to go forwards because.
Is it? So, what companies are registered to be able to stream these things?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
What companies have actually registered to be able to get a license?
Well, as you know, I'm not the DCMS minister nor the secretary, so I'm not an expert in their department. And
let's just agree to disagree. The tweet was useless. We all know that. Now, moving on, I've got a question. I've got a statement here from Nathless about this, where he's actually a Parliament admin. But what he said is, if you don't get a license, it doesn't matter. I asked, I will never get a license. There's no consequences. What's the point in it then?
Once again, this is a question about the DCMS to the minister, so I'm obviously not going to be.
Unfortunately, the DCMS minister was incapable of coming on the show, even though they were asked to. So you're the best that we can do, which I appreciate. You may not know all the details, but can you go and find out the details and tell me about it later on at some point?
Well, I'm sure the DCMS minister is actively communicating with news companies, and I'm sure that's going to continue as she continues in the ministry. And now, and this system is it's not just going to be it's not going to be obsolete. It's not just going to sit around waiting to be used. It's one that's going to be able to present a more transparent parliament, not just for the government but for the opposition as well. To civilians.
Right. So what's going to be happening now is, thank you very much, Jeb. This has been an excellent broadcast. It's been great to have you on. Hopefully, we'll get a Tory person on next week so we can obliterate them instead of just cyberbullying Labour. But it's been great to have you on. Thanks for coming on. Hope to see you again next time. The Sammy Show will be back next week at the same time. We'd also like to apologise for any audio problems that we had at the start. And Jeb's mic hasn't been the best, but thanks to him for being an excellent sport and doing his best anyway. Also, big shout out to Shadow and Joel for agreeing that we should invade Ireland. We all know that we should. Let's just do it. And then, other than that, thank you very much for tuning in.